I think that's something too, like sitting and talking with someone like Haylie McCleney, who's a 4-time All-American. I wasn't that player I was a good softball player. I would argue, a great softball player going into college, but I wasn't an All-American yet. And that's okay, not entering into school, not being an All-American. It's a it's okay not to be the best player stepping on campus, but leaving campus, you better be the best player that you could be, because you're in the right place, you put the work in, and because you stayed. For most people.
Well, welcome to the car ride home. I got a full car here today with Sam Fischer and Haylie McCleney. Honored to have you both. Like I just told you guys, I could go on so many tangents, and I want to ask you guys so many questions of just where we're at with women's sports and softball and all these things. But we'll try to keep it a short car ride home if we can. I want to give a quick background. You both have so many accolades, but Sam Fischer, Loyola Marymount Hall of Famer. I saw so many things. You were the first one at LMU, first All-American. There were first like 2-time player of the year. There's lots of awards. USA softball member, and currently playing in Athletes Unlimited. Haylie McCleney, 4-time All-American at University of Alabama. USA softball member, still excited to talk about the current roster for 2024, and also current player with Athletes Unlimited. So that's about as short as I can go, you guys. Sam, Haylie, welcome to the car ride home.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're pumped to be here. We love being in the car together.
Well, let's dive into it. And you guys can pick of who's picking the music. So first off, we're in the car ride. We're headed home. What are we listening to?
Sam, take it away.
Such a good question. When it's me and Halo by ourselves, we will put on Folklore by Taylor Swift.
That's exactly right. That's the best Taylor Swift album by far.
Yeah. But then there's times where if we're not feeling it, we just put on whatever and we'll put it on low and we just talk the whole way home.
Sam, do you maybe want to share with the people your Spotify Wrapped?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Listen, I like to say that I have range in my music taste, because
Very much so.
the recommended playlist that Spotify will be like, good morning, here's what you should listen to, Taylor Swift or Eminem. And it's like the most polar opposite music, and then a Disney hits playlist. So Sam Fischer be listening to all that there is to offer in the music world.
You might have to share that playlist with our listeners. Like we might have to put a link for that.
They'll be so confused, but I will.
Sam, that's called versatility, I think, or like a utility player on music.
I like to live like that. That's a great point, Jami. Thank you.
I got you. Well, next most important question besides music is, where are we eating in the car ride home?
Hey, Laura, do you want to take this one?
If it's me and Sam, it's McDonald's. And there's no shame in that. Nothing like a long day at the ballpark and then a large Diet Coke, a double cheeseburger, no onions, large fry. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. And half the time when Sam and I get done playing anyway, it's like midnight, 1 a.m. So there aren't a lot of options. So it's McDonald's.
And you don't want to cook
properly.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is cook after a day. Yeah. All day, you're like, you know what sounds good? Cooking. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
McDonald's sounds good.
It does.
Well, for our college or pro players, I like to ask, what was the car ride home meal when you were a youth player, and what was it now? But something tells me that y'all's might not have changed.
I think you're right.
Not that much. No.
Yeah. Long, especially in California, like all of our tournaments were mostly within a 2-hour range. So we're driving home at the end of a tournament. We don't need to go back to a hotel, and it's like, let's grab and go. And yeah, McDonald's has been a staple in at least the Fischer household.
I respect it. Well, can you both give me, I'm sure you've had many car rides home from tournaments, games, practice at any point in your career. When I ask you what's the most memorable, what's the first thing that comes to mind of the most memorable car ride home?
I have one off the bat. It was mostly me and my dad. And there would be times where we would blast music, like Journey, Van Halen, Def Leppard. We were just blasting music in the car after a good game, bad game. Honestly, I don't remember if the games were good or bad, but I just remember my dad cranking up the music and us just going buck wild in the car. And I honestly think that's where my music love comes from, because it's like, oh, you got to give this song a second. You just have to listen to it. And that's some of my favorite memories. His favorite to blast was by Journey. It's called Ask the Lonely. And I always go back to like whenever I listen to that song, I go back to the car. That's where my head's at.
Is that where you first learned to have Rocky Like a Hurricane as your walk-up song?
1,000,000%. There's no
Yeah.
coincidence there.
I love that so much. For me, I learned that this is just a random memory that's hilarious that my family brings up all the time. So I'm the oldest of 3. I've got 2 little brothers, and they were dragged around to every ballpark you can imagine. And it was one of my first like travel tournaments, I think, that I was playing. And my middle brother, Walker, probably like 3, 4, 5 at the time, like very little, just getting dragged around. And we had a really long day at the ballpark, and the field was like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And on the way home, Walker was convinced that we were going to North Carolina, that we were like driving all the way up there, that we were never going to get out of the car. Like he was having this full blown, like terrible tube meltdown that we were going to North Carolina. So anytime Walker gets in the car now, like the family joke is, hey buddy, we're going to North Carolina. And it's still something that we laugh about to this day that happened like 15 years ago. Just absolutely hysterical. And Walker is the comedic relief of our family too. So just like Sam, like just fun family memories, like hanging out, laughing, having a good time. That's what the car ride home was all about, you know?
There's so many of that. That's what that was a big reason why we wanted to call it, because we can all relate, whether you're a parent, coach, or athlete, right? Like I remember being with my dad, or like the old school music. Those poor little siblings. I am the youngest, so I got like hauled around, but shout out to the younger siblings who become the ballpark rats.
Yes.
The other thing that I'm going to take you guys back. I know you're both, well into your professional journeys. You're still young, but you're in your professional journeys. Can you go back to the very beginning? And can you give me the first team name and then set the stage of what was that? Was it local? Like, what was the setting when you were first introduced to the sport of softball?
Rec ball. Year 2000, the All-American Girls, which is like, comes full circle. Like, yeah, so really cute, really fun. My ears stuck out of my visor. I'm pretty sure that has made it around on social media a little bit too.
Oh,
but yeah, All-American Girls.
Halo, that's so cute. I was on the Rugrats. And
of course
I will ever yes, I will never ever forget this. I had no 2 front teeth. I was just out there just balling it up. And my mom asked me, "What jersey number do you want to have?" And I said I wanted to be the number of the age of the youngest Hansen brother, Zach Hansen. He was 13 at the time, so I was number 13. Shout out Zach Hansen. Mbop. It's a life changer.
I don't even know where to go from it.
Perfect.
Right.
This is perfect.
Like, I want to be the youngest age. Like, I mean, the brain, like, cells that are going on.
I loved Hanson. I thought all their songs were about me. Like, if they had a love song, I thought they were secretly singing about me. I was very young.
But the only way to go from the Rugrats to next is, and you guys remember, we have a lot of conversations about, like, for those parents that, hey, my kid started in rec, then they made the all-star team, then we got our first taste of tournaments, and then we're going to try this travel ball thing. Do you guys remember at all that transition of when you finally got serious, when your family got serious? Do you guys remember what that was like and what the conversations might have even been between you and your parents?
That's a good question. When I was young and like really getting serious into it, I was also playing basketball. And I remember distinctly the conversation of picking a sport, which I know is a very, very big topic in softball is specializing versus playing a lot. And I know Halo and I have different backgrounds in this, which I think is great. The yin to my yang. But my parents, I was in 8th grade, and my parents, we had to decide because it's expensive. We did not have all the dollars. And my dad asked me, do you want to be good at 2 sports or do you want to be great at one? And that, I think I was 13, and that was kind of the transition of, okay, we're about to get real serious. So, because I wanted to be great. So I think I would say about then 8th grade, 13.
Sam, I know you're California. What was that? Where'd you play travel ball?
I played most of my time on the SoCal Panthers, which is no longer a team. And then I finished up with the SoCal Pumas, which I'm pretty sure is also, no, they're still a team. They're still a team.
Shout out Pumas. Pumas
Yeah.
to the Lions. That's
I'm
pretty cool.
all about the big cats, baby.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Similar timing for me with Sam. I actually quit playing softball when I was 12 because I had started playing travel ball and got really burnt out. And I had a conversation with my parents, and they actually let me quit, which was awesome. And it was a really empowering decision for me. I went to go play AAU basketball because at the time my dream was to go play in the WNBA. I wanted to go to Tennessee and play basketball for Pat Summit. And then I stopped growing. And so basketball was not going to work out for me. So I took 2 years off from 12 to 14 and went back to play and just absolutely fell back in love with softball. I had a fire for it again. I was around really good people. I got involved with a really good travel ball organization in the Birmingham Vipers. And it was literally less than a year later that was in the days of early recruiting, but it was less than a year later that I had a Division I offer. Just from taking that time off and coming back and loving the game again. That was really, really cool. So yeah, right around 13 or 14.
Shout out to softball. I'm glad we got you and you didn't go the basketball route. But
Really.
I'm glad too. It worked out all right.
I'd say it's working out for you pretty well. That's powerful though, because how many players have been through that moment, right? Where you do get burned out. And especially nowadays, right? They take all kinds of lessons. They take their training, they're playing. It's a grind for sure. Do you guys remember what that looked like back in high school? What you guys were doing? Did you practice with your teams? Did you go to training? Were you training on your own? Do you remember what those days looked like for y'all?
Yeah, I honestly didn't do much of the lessons or clinics or anything. I never did a softball camp until I worked one at Alabama, which is just wild. But the people who are coming around Birmingham do. It's not like it is now. You know what I mean? Growing up in a really small town in Alabama, there just wasn't a lot going on like that. And my dad played college baseball, so I remember the majority of the times, one thing I'm really appreciative of about my dad is that he never made me go out and hit. He always waited for me to ask him. And he was very quick to mention that whenever I was struggling or he could tell I wanted to get better. He was like, well, how hard are you working? I'd be like, okay, you're right. Will you come through to me? And so me taking ownership of that process happened pretty early on, but it was team practice. And then it was getting extra reps in with my dad and my brothers in the backyard, playing sandlot style baseball before dinner. Not anything structured, but just going outside and playing and being creative and learning how to make athletic plays out of nowhere and being competitive with my brothers. It was less structured, but looking back on it, I can honestly say I trained every single day because I was either outside playing with my dad or my brothers, or I was at team practice.
Yeah, and you can tell how you play too. It's all play, right?
It's all backyard baseball.
That's
we're
what I was
playing backyard
thinking, too.
baseball all
It's
the time.
backyard baseball, man.
It works. It works.
Yeah, I've seen her do some crazy athletic things on the field because that's probably what she was doing in the backyard.
Facts.
For me, I think very similar. We had, but also being in Southern California, there was a lot of opportunity. I did go to hitting coaches. I had lessons probably weekly, and then every other week, for a few years during those 12 to 15 age range. But I would get home from high school practice and go to the batting cage with my dad, or on a Saturday or Sunday, if we didn't have practice, we'd go out to the local park and play catch, hit ground balls, do all those things. So I think like Halo, like all the extra reps, I think are things that I remember in the routine. Um, and I look back on it now, like in high school season, we played on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on Mondays and Wednesdays, my dad would take me and I would go hit off live off of a pitcher. And I didn't set that up. I was 15, 16, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in chemistry. I barely know how to get good grades in that. So he set up all these things knowing that this was going to help me. And to Halo's point too, it was never we're going to do this. It was, hey, what do you think about going and hitting off of, her name was Mercedes. It still is Mercedes. But what do you think about going and hitting off her before we face so and so tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, great. My dad will tell you still to this day. Anytime he asked, my answer was yes. Not once in the however many years did I ever say no, I don't want to go. So kind of the same testament there.
That's a sign. Both of you, I can relate to you, Halo. Of I asked my dad to go out with me. I had a really cool. My last car ride home was with Maria Jennings, Tiari Jennings, and Telly Jennings' mom, and telling the story from a mom perspective or a parent perspective was pretty cool, and making sure the athlete is involved in the conversation, which sounds like both of you were throughout your lives.
Totally.
Sam, I remember last year we're in the college softball postseason, and there's a lot of success at the mid major level. And I watch LMU now, and they're incredibly talented. But I know you've shouted out the mid majors. Can you talk about your recruiting journey, and then what that's like? Speak to the mid major aspect too, of like you went there, made a huge name for yourself, Hall of Famer. Can you talk about that journey?
I would love to. It's my favorite journey to talk about. I will say, I had never heard of LMU, and I think that happens a lot in the mid-major space. It's like, oh, what is this school? And I was at my very first showcase tournament, and back in the day, what it used to be was you go on a Friday and you had kind of a skills camp for the coaches to watch you, and then you play the games Saturday and Sunday. So I was out there hitting on a Friday, and after my hitting session, my dad came up to me. He said, "Hey, the LMU coach is interested in you." I said, "Cool. What's that?" And and turns out Gary, he's since passed away, but he got lost looking for another field, showed up to my field, and you want to talk about fate. That screams to me fate. And I knew that going into the whole college process, I knew I wanted to play college ball, but I knew I didn't want to go far. That was something that I knew, like I would be a wreck if I went far from home at 17 turning 18. And so huge on my list. The one lucky thing being from SoCal, that doesn't close so many doors. There's still like 40 options from where I lived. So that was huge. My dad told me that the school was in LA. I said, that sounds perfect. And just from there, I think it was something that I was interested in looking into, because UCLA is down the street. When you grow up in SoCal or just anywhere watching softball, UCLA is the school. But I also knew, as much as I wanted to win, I wanted to be on the field. And I knew if I would have walked on at UCLA or been maybe like a backup option for UCLA, I wouldn't have played on the field for at least a year, maybe more. And I wanted to win, but I wanted to play. So LMU gave me the opportunity to earn a starting spot as a freshman, and I played every single game of my career. And that was really important to me. So, and then also coming into it, thinking about school. I love school. I love learning. And LMU gave me the opportunity to be in small classrooms, getting to do, getting the attention that I needed as a student. And it just was the perfect fit. So yeah, we didn't win a lot, but it's still like I would still go back and lose at LMU, which is how much I love it, because I don't like losing. I actually hate it. But I think that's the test. I think that's something too, like sitting and talking with someone like Haylie McCleney, who's a 4-time All-American. I wasn't that player I was a good softball player. I would argue a great softball player going into college, but I wasn't an All-American yet. And that's okay, not entering into school, not being an All-American. And I grew and I learned, and I was in an environment that helped me grow to become an All-American softball player. And helped me to kind of fuel that goal, because that was a goal I had going into college, even though I wasn't there yet. So I think that that's something that's really helped me and helped in the conversation with these kids, where it's a it's okay not to be the best player stepping on campus, but leaving campus, you better be the best player that you could be, because you're in the right place, you put the work in, and because you stayed. And because you stayed. For most people. So, it's a little bit.
I mean, Haylie, do you want to follow that? That was awesome. But
I honestly can't. I can't. I think it's so important. Sam's story is so important because, like, in the age of social media, in the age of like NIL, like the recruiting process to me has become more so of I'm chasing a logo and I'm chasing a brand versus I'm chasing an experience and I'm chasing development. And so, Sam, for you to have that maturity, I know it was like, it wasn't, recent, like it was a little bit ago, but like for you to have that maturity at that age to be like, no, I'm going to go where I want to play. I know what I want. I know what I feel like I need to succeed both on and off the field. Like that's what should go into these decisions, not who can just write a check. And look how much better you are for it now. I think it's just a testament to development as a human as a whole. It's an encompassing experience rather than just like, oh, well, this is the biggest school and they have on paper, the best program, so that's where I have to go. No,
Right.
you can make your own experience. I
it's,
can't. That's all I have. That's it.
it's
More
so
people
good.
should
though.
know Sam's story.
Hello.
I'm serious.
It's so important, and we see that all the time right now too with our athletes inside the alliance too, and everybody has their own journey. And I think what you said, Hayla, about experience is so important because, I mean, if you guys think back, like your travel ball days, your college days, like what memories stand out? And I know like there's winning and there's awards, but what really stands out for you guys?
Not the awards. It like even like winning games, yes, but it was winning games from like a huge comeback story type of thing. Like those are the memories that stick out to me. And what I've noticed, like the more I reflect on my college career, is I don't remember plays that I was involved in, really. Like the biggest memories I have are when my teammates found success. Like when Marissa Runyon hit that grand slam against Oklahoma. Like when Peyton Grantham hit a walk-off home run in Super Regionals as a freshman 9-hole. It was like 0 for 5 before then. She was down to her last strike and hits a bomb off of Tatum Edwards. Those are the things that I remember. And I remember the bus rides and the pranks we used to pull on each other in hotel rooms and getting to walk on the field at Hall of Fame Stadium playing in the Women's College World Series for the first time and puking in the dugout before my first at bat because we were playing Oklahoma. And silly me thought all that crimson in the stands was for us. Dumb.
It wasn't.
Those are the things. Those are the things that I remember. I don't remember. I don't remember specific at bats. Sam is probably going to have a different perspective because Sam's softball memory is like through the roof. But like, I remember the people I was around. Like, I remember the relationships I had. That's the stuff that sticks with you for a long time. And you don't realize it when you're in it because you're trying to be the best you can be and you're trying to win as many games as possible. But that's all fleeting. Like that's gonna pass at some point. All trophies collect dust. Relationships don't.
Oh, well, yeah, no, Halo's right. I remember everything I've ever done in the history of anything. Like I can't like dump anything. It's just all. So my hair's so big, but I, I truly agree that the times, like I can just picture like me and Halo and Sis Bates and Andrea Filler like sitting in our hotel room at Athletes Unlimited, just with obviously ice cream, just talking and laughing and joking. And it's always been like that, like from the beginning to now. Maybe the people have been different through, the hotel rooms have been different, but those things, I just think I'm like, I cherish that so much. And then you get a group chat going, talking about those memories and talking to, just, I don't know, like Halo said, it's like stuff that lasts a lifetime. But softball wise, I think I obviously can remember some cool at bats that I've had or some cool plays I've made. But I think the thing that I remember or feel the most is the pride I have in myself, that I've shown myself how capable I am. And that, I think, is something that I have carried with me as an adult off the field. It's like, no, you can literally do anything. And that is something that I feel like has come from each level, proving to myself. I don't care about proving to anybody else, but proving to myself, like, oh no, you can do this and you haven't done this yet, but you can do that too. So I think that feeling, regardless of the at bats or the games or anything, is that feeling consistently through my career of, no, like you can do it. So that's been important to me.
I hope for, especially for parents who are listening to this, like soaking that in of two of the greatest softball players that we've had. And you guys are talking about memories and teammates and moments and not necessarily like stats and at bats and things like that. And I think it's such an important message in considering who it's coming from. I'm curious, in talking to a lot of our youth athletes right now, and especially like in this world of social media, identity is an interesting conversation and balance. And you two have had long careers in the sport. You've both stayed involved in the sport. But from the outside looking in, it seems like you guys do a really good job of balance. How do you create that balance? How do you separate yourself from just identifying as a softball player and being more than just a softball player?
You've got to give yourself grace and patience in that process, because I think when you're as competitive as Sam and I both are, and you're competitive enough to play this game at a high level for as long as we have, it can be very easy to start to drift towards identifying yourself winning or losing and getting so caught up in the result. And I think one of the best things that ever happened to me was coming to the understanding of, like, I can't win a softball game by myself. So I need to make sure that it's my responsibility to pour into the people around me to lift them up. And that makes the entire team better. It makes it a more enjoyable experience when I'm on the field winner. And so going through that process of that kind of emotional development, like taking the eyes off of myself, it made me realize that, like, softball is what I do. It's not who I am. And my purpose as a teammate is to bring joy and life and energy into other people. And that's what I try to show up with every single day on a consistent basis. That's my purpose. My purpose is not winning or losing. My purpose is uplifting the people around me. And if I'm focused on that purpose and that purpose alone, good things are going to happen. They have thus far, and they're going to continue to happen. Like, I believe the universe rewards fulfilling your purpose like that. So that's a very slow process. Again, it requires a lot of patience and grace, but it's really freeing once you can separate your identity from the result.
It's beautiful. And I think anybody who has watched a game when Halo and I are on the same team, it's all giddy, it's all giggly, it's all smiles, because she's right. Like, that at the end of the day, like, if we're not happy and enjoying and all that, then what does it all mean? But I think, like Halo said, it's a long process, a long journey to figure it out. But I feel like learning what I need as a person and as a player, knowing what I need, that has helped me to then have balance, because I need to hit the gym. I need to get these swings in. If I'm able to do that, then I could say, all right, softball Sam, you did your job. Good job. I'm gonna go be wife Sam, or, dog mom Sam, or nobody talked to me for 2 hours. My book is so good, Sam. So I think learning what I need as a person and what I need as a player has been really important in figuring out that balance, where it's like, then I know if I'm in a funk or something, oh, well, that's because I haven't had any alone time in 3 days. Like, I need to go sit and be by myself. And I think that there's ways that people show to do it, and then there's ways that make sense for you. So that's why I think it is a long process of learning, because you got to learn what makes sense for you, not what makes sense for other people when they talk about this kind of thing. So that balance comes from, I think, being aware and being okay. I used to not be okay taking an off day, and I remember feeling guilty, like, oh my god, I I didn't hit the gym today or I didn't hit the field today, oh my gosh, it would make me out of my mind. But knowing that, oh my God, I've been playing softball for 100 million years. Those 30 swings it was going to take today aren't going to make or break me as a player. So like giving myself grace in that learning process too.
However, rest and recovery might actually even help you more. I feel like those are things
Truly.
why it's so important to keep playing, right? Because we learn so much more mentally and everything else way into our 20s, 30s. So I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna transition to pro softball, and you guys have both been fortunate to play for a while. How do you keep that up mentally and physically? You know, how do you show up every day, or maybe not? Maybe you're resting some days too, but to stay on this journey and this pathway to continue your careers.
Well, I mean, with us both working full time, so we both work full time now for Athletes Unlimited too. So I think more so in this season of my life, it's been like I feel like I'm a student athlete again, almost like in high school, because we're working like pretty much 9 to 5. So we're having to find time to fit in. Like most days for me, I'm up at 5. I'm doing my strength. I'm lifting. I'm running. Whatever I need to do, I'll work, and then after work, I'm really lucky that I'm engaged to a former pitcher, a Hall of Fame pitcher. So she will throw to me, which is really nice after
I
work.
see what you did there. That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah. So that really helped. But our season, I don't think a lot of people realize this. Our season is like 3 months, 3 to 4 months. And so we're normal human beings for 8 to 9 months out of the year. And so like I am very adamant about I do not pick up a softball in the fall. I don't touch one. I don't really think about it. I'm a normal human being. I reset. I spend time with my family. I pour into the people that I've been away from for the past few months, playing softball, like pursuing my own thing. And I kind of use the fall to kind of reset. And I'm very big on seasons. Like this season, I'm focused on, prepping. In season, I'm focused on absolutely performing to the best of my possible ability. Once the fall hits, I'm just a normal human being, Haylie. And then in winter, it's like, okay, let's start to, turn the gears kind of back on. And I think that's really contributed to me being able to play and stay healthy because I'm not burnt out. I spend just enough time away from the game to where, like this time of year, I'm itching to get back in the box and have an at bat. And even like Kylie and I'll get super competitive when she's throwing to me. Like the competitiveness starts to turn on like right around this time of year. And I think that's healthy. I think it's healthy to be able to take space and take seasons to focus on different things because you can't do everything all at once. I know for a fact that I cannot be really great at my full-time job at Athletes Unlimited and a really great pro softball player and like have this Mamba mentality where I'm just hustling and grinding. Like I can't do that 365 days a year. It's impossible to sustain. So I spread it out into seasons. What's my main priority? And take it from there. Prioritize and execute. That's all you can do.
I think to like transition, like I love what you said about seasons, Halo. I think that's so awesome. And I think it makes like so much sense. And knowing you this long, that's the like best way to put it. And I personally, I think about the mental side of it is knowing what you have to sacrifice. I think that is something that people don't realize is that I look at my life from the outside or Halo's life from the outside and think, oh my God, they have it all. They have it all. And there is so much I can think of in the last 20 years that I have had to miss or give up or not do because of the pursuit of excellence in my sport. And I just had a wedding invitation come in the mail. This happens every year. A wedding invitation for one of my bridesmaids, someone who I've been looking forward to going to her wedding for years. Can't go because of softball. And understanding that, yeah, I'm bummed, but I want to go out there and in the softball part of my life, I want to succeed and I have to miss out on these things. I've been around like all my friends have babies now. I've been to like one of their birthday parties, so there's things like that in your personal life that you have to be okay with sacrificing for the pursuit that you're on. And I think that that's the thing that gets kind of left in the dust in the conversations, because like we're talking about how have we sustained it for so long. We talk about the hard work, we talk about the grind, we talk about what are we doing to train. But then there's also that other piece when we talk about like Halo, like hanging out with my family who I haven't seen for 3 months. Those are the things you give up seeing your family for that amount of time. Like there's been stretches of time I haven't seen my mom in 6 months. That's so long without my mom. But being understanding and being willing. Like if I look back and I think of all the weddings, babies, and I feel bad for saying this, but I would miss it all again. I would miss it all again for the, you know, the accomplishments and for the journey that I've made in my career. So that I think from what Halo is talking and the, like adding to that full picture, that's what I feel strongly about.
It's so good. Like you guys are crushing. I love the advice, the stories. It's so relatable too. I'm sitting here like I think that might have been when I knew that that I was done playing, because I did start missing some of those things. And it's like, all right, I think this is time to hang it up now. Don't do that yet. You two have a lot of innings left. So I'm like, we've been super deep in this car ride here. So we're gonna take a left-hand turn and go WNBA draft. I know you two are sports fans. I know you're big on professional softball, women's sports. In y'all's opinion, like, what have you been thinking as we're watching women's basketball and these superstars and then the WNBA draft and record after record after record of viewership being broken? I'm just curious. I'm going to leave that open-ended, but like, what's going through y'all's heads as you're watching this?
I'm going to say two things. One is it's about time. And two is it's only getting started. Like, I think if the media attention was as intense in years past of stars in the past, all these storyline like this would be the norm. The players have always been great. The attention hasn't always been great. The investment hasn't always been great. And so now that people are starting to open their eyes and realize, oh snap, like I love this. I love what's going on social media right now too. Of, everyone's like, oh, Caitlin Clark's not making any money. Like she deserves so much more. Like, thank you, Jeff. We've been saying this for 20 years. And so it's like the conversation is just getting started and it's only going to continue to get better. But I just think women's sports as a whole right now, basketball, lacrosse, volleyball, softball, you name it, hockey, soccer, women's sports is in a moment right now. And people are finally starting to realize there's great stories here. There's great people here. There's great role models here. Like now let me turn my financial investment into that, whether that be in tickets, in partnerships, or anything else. And so you're only going to continue to grow, as any business does, right? You have to invest if you want to make revenue. And so I think now we're starting to see fruits of that labor starting to come in, and it's only going to get better. I'm stoked.
This is what I was seriously like, I can't wait to talk to them about this, because I knew, but it's the product has been there, right? The product is really good, but you're spot on, I think, of the business, the entertainment value. Like that's what professional sports are. Sorry, Sam, your take.
No, Halo nailed it. I mean, truly, we've said this all along. The product has been there, and I think I am looking forward to the day when we just talk about sports. We don't talk about sports and women's sports. And that is what I think we're on the cusp of, is that we are professional athletes who also happen to be a woman or happen to be a man. Let's just ball out. I mean, I think Caitlin Clark has been proving that, where if you can shoot, you can shoot. And for us, if you can swing, you can swing. And that, I think, is something that I'm waiting for that left turn of, okay, baller, not baller, female baller, female baller. I just want to be considered, a pro athlete like everybody else. And the funny part about the $70,000 is like, damn, yeah, it is low. But also softball players would kill to make $70,000 a year. So I think we're seeing that people are understanding now what we're talking about, where you look at Wemby's contract as a rookie and you look at Caitlin Clark's contract as a rookie. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I think that I look at things like Prada dressing Caitlin Clark for the WNBA draft, and that's the first time Prada has ever dressed anybody, male or female, for a draft. I think that we're starting to see, hey, you know what? There's this, something like this makes sense. And you look at the Taylor Swift effect on the Chiefs and on the NFL, and people talk crap about that. And you're like, women being in sports, we belong there. And she's not even playing, but women are watching. Women are out here doing these things that people have discredited them for so long. I'm ready. I'm just super ready. And when Halo and I do hang them up, it might be past our time. But right now, we're in here doing the things that we got to do so that we can see it happen after our time.
Which is really important. That's what and you guys already beat me to it I know you're both working with Athletes Unlimited and you have full-time jobs and you're fully invested of not just doing it on the field, but off the field as well. And that's what, like, I'm just rooting for the day when the minimum for softball is at that level too. So you don't have to have a full-time job and be a full-time softball player as well. And sorry, you guys got me on my tangent, but tickets are being sold. They're selling out arenas. They're selling out of jerseys. They're having their own media rights. So it's producing revenue too that we're seeing. And that's what I'm excited about. What are y'all's thoughts? This could be I'm a big fan of Athletes Unlimited. I'm just thinking about the limited roster spots. And this could be like one of the most historic softball drafts of all time with the senior class. And it's like, man, I'm watching the WNBA and they're superstars. I'm like, we have superstars in our class. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that, of thinking of the senior class?
So for those of you who don't know, Athletes Unlimited, we have a player executive committee for each of our sports, and it's made up of present, current, active Athletes Unlimited players that get to make decisions for the league. And one of the biggest things is that roster. And I will tell you, this is the deepest we've been in trying to figure out who to draft, because you have who do you draft, and then for some reason or other, maybe they want to go a different way or don't want to play anymore, and then who do you draft behind them? You know, like there's all these conversations. It's a Rubik's Cube, really. But this senior class that's coming out, it's insane, the talent, and not only the talent, but a lot of them also have international experience, having played in a tournament or two with Team USA. So the question when you come out of college is, can they hang with the pros? And there's kids already who are playing alongside pros with national teams. So it's hard, but it's a really good hard, where this is a great problem to have. We've got, like you said, we have a limited roster, but the way that things are going and growing, I know in the future there's going to be more opportunity. And it just drives you to be even more competitive. If there's only 60 spots in the state to play for Athletes Unlimited, I'm working my butt off to be one of those 60. So I think there's a good combination, and then there's also room for growth. Halo, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is really just an echo of, I think, from the professional side of being a pro for the last however many years this is for me and Sam, when you have a senior class like this, again, like, I'm working just as hard, if not harder, to prove to some rookie that comes into the league that's like, no, like, we've been here, we've been doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole other competitive edge that you want to see if these rookies can actually do it, you know? And I think that's one thing in the softball realm, like we were talking about attention and media. Like, it doesn't get talked about that often. Like, just because you were a superstar college player doesn't necessarily mean you're going to transition well to the pros. Professional softball is really freaking hard. International softball is really freaking hard. And so I think it's going to make everyone in the league better, all 60 roster spots. But most importantly, I think it's going to make the United States national team better. from being able to compete with all of these different athletes heading towards 2028, where we're playing on home soil. We didn't finish the job like we were supposed to in Tokyo. I just think there's a lot of intra-national competition that is going to come out of a class like this. And I am really excited to welcome some of those new ones into athletedom.
You just gave me chills. Like, I'm fired up now of watching that. And I'm sitting here, which, by the way, y'all need like your own Manning cast during the Women's College World Series. I'm going to put that out there if y'all haven't thought about it. But
Please. We would love that.
Do you know people?
I mean,
I would totally. I'm down.
you two would be so good because I watched the Taurasi and Sue Bird in Halo. Diana Taurasi was saying the same things, and she's getting a little backlash right now because she's like, pro basketball, like professional space is different. Like, it is different. So I'm curious, elaborate a little bit on that from professional and international, because not all of our All-Americans make it. And sometimes it's a player you didn't even know about in college that has a really long, successful career. So in your mind, what does translate into professional and international?
I'll speak to my own experience here. So I was empowered from a very early age at Alabama to kind of figure out my own process, but still be guided by a coach. Like, one of the great things about Murph and Allie is that they never said your mechanics have to be like this, or you have to do this, or this is the exact, like, this is by the book, this is what you have to do. It was a conversation. And that's why I was so drawn to them in the first place, because that's exactly how I was developed by my parent. There was always a conversation. Now, yes, like, my mom and dad, like, put very strict boundaries on me, and, like, no means no. And it was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Like, there were boundaries put in place. Same with Murph and Allie. But I had freedom within the system to figure out what my preparation process would be. And the biggest, I think, transition piece going from college softball to professional softball is you have to know who you are outside of that system. You're on your own. You're 100% on your own. Are you watching film? Are you getting creative with your preparation? No one's handing you a scouting report. No one's telling you, like, this is where she goes in these counts. No one's telling you these things anymore. It's on you, and it's your responsibility. You are your own coach. You are your own scout. You are your own player. And that is really hard, especially if you come out of a college system where it's, this is what she throws. Here's the whatever the tech login is, I'm cutting up all this film for you. We're going to watch in a 10-minute meeting, and you're going to have exactly the preparation needed, and someone else does all the work for you. It's a hard transition, and it's a hard reality, I think, for a lot of people. It was a hard reality for me, even coming out of school. I don't know what your experience was, Sam, but
Yep. It's so funny because I will tell the rookies after their first season, I'm like, you are entering into the hardest year of your life, the first year out of college.
yes.
It is like you get dropped off at school and your parents like, see ya, good luck, and that, I think, is so true for every pro. So true in softball, at least, where, you got to figure out how to do it on your own. And if you haven't been doing it on your own up to this point, you have a lot to learn. And that's where talking, about Halo's experience at Alabama, Gary at LMU, he let me be me. Like, I even got to go home on the weekends and hit with my dad and do my own thing so that I could then continue cultivating what already made me successful. And then with tips and tricks along the way, instead of, you're at LMU now, here's how you hit. Like, no, I brought you to LMU because you hit like Sam Fischer. So really, developing me and becoming a better me so that when I enter and leave LMU, I'm just a better Sam Fischer. I'm not LMU's own, like, does that make sense? So the other part, I think, is adaptability, in that I look at video of my swing, the rare video that there might exist from those years of my swing at LMU, and it's different now. It still has the same essence and the same foundation, but there's little things that I've had to adjust to hit a Rachel Garcia, or try, or Monica Abbott, or every level that we have gone to, right? From travel to college, from college to USA to international, playing in the professional league in Japan. Every level has brought a new challenge. And every time you either rise to the challenge or you don't. And so learning that what has made me successful got me here, but how am I now going to be successful here? Okay, that got me to here. Now, how am I going to be successful here? So I think that is something of the adaptability in each different challenge along the way, is learning that, yeah, you know what? Maybe I can't squat solo in my swing anymore because I need to be a little bit quicker here. Or things like that, where over the long career that the careers that Halo and I have had, is like, there are some things that have been tweaked to improve. It's like, iOS update 15. So we're just updating ourselves to compete at the highest level.
I love that you just compared that to an iOS update. You guys, you articulated that really well. That's been a conversation back, and I'm older than you guys, like back even in our day too, of like, and you're going to fail again, right? Like, I remember the fall of my freshman year being so hard of trying to figure out life. And then you're right, that rookie year too, like it's like a different figuring out, but it's like you're on your own again. And I love what you just said, Haylie, too, about system. That's interesting. And I think you're spot on there. There's so many things, and I think we're just gonna have to do another car ride. But I'm really curious, because this is so recent and we're chatting about media and different things, but just the premiere of SEC Story and the Alabama story of 2012, the national championship team. So I know that's close to your heart, but I also think there were just many great things that came from that, of being the first softball docu series too. What went through your mind of watching that, and just, seeing that at such a national level too?
It was definitely emotional. I think it's just really an amazing opportunity for the University of Alabama, for that national championship team. I mean, it was groundbreaking for the state of Alabama. I was a senior in high school at the time. It was the year before I got to Alabama, and watching the World Series, like, I've never felt a buzz in my hometown like I did for that. And that's Alabama and Auburn football included, by the way. Like, there was just such a buzz around the entire state, around softball, around a women's sport. And this was in 2012. It's not that long ago, but it kind of is. Like, when we're talking about sports media and coverage and things like that. And I just remember it being such a big deal in the moment, and being able to go back and relive that, like watching what they did for the state, for the SEC. You literally watch softball expand from West Coast to East Coast in front of your eyes. Like, what a cool moment. So cool to be a part of. Oh, and two, I just, if you haven't watched it yet, you need to watch it, just point blank period. But notice how culture matters. Like, look at how deep culture mattered in that series. Oklahoma was, I love all of the people on that team. They are some of my best friends in the entire world. Oklahoma's 3 times better than on paper. On paper. And I think there's just so many lessons that kids that are playing in this day and age can learn from that team, specifically in the age of NIL and the transfer portal. Like, some of the most important leaders on that team weren't starters. They were culture carriers in the dugout, making sure that whoever was on the field was set up to succeed, felt supported, felt encouraged. And that's what stands out to me. Again, it's the relationship piece. It's not just the talent piece. It's what kind of culture are you carrying? And that senior class will forever live, like, in my hearts. They are, like, the best people on planet Earth. Everybody on that. I mean, just culture matters. That's really it.
It's cool you said that. I mean, just sitting here, and I'm an outsider, but that was some of my takeaways too, of the lessons that were in their stories, and what you could really take away and learn from what that team did as a culture. And shout out to Alabama, by the way. I thought you guys did a really good job of making it a big deal, because it is a big deal. But like the red carpet, the premiere, I was like, they did it right. And I think it set the stage, hopefully, for a lot more too.
Yes. That's definitely not going to be the first softball doc that comes out.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here with just some quick rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. So, and I'm gonna try to spitball these. Haylie, you mentioned pranks. What's the best prank that you've ever done or had done to you?
Best prank I've ever had done to me in being locked in the charter bus bathroom, like 6 hours into a road trip, where half the team would just sit in front of the door, and I would think that the door was like actually locked, but I didn't realize that they were blocking me. So, and then on like the 5th or 6th try, everyone would just leave and like go back to their seats like normal. And I'd be like, what the, like, have you guys like experienced like this? Like, be careful when you go in there. It's like the lock is messed up or whatever. And the whole team was bought into, oh no, like, we don't have any problem. Yeah. Mean, but a good prank.
Good.
Good prank. I still will try not to go to a charter in a charter bus bathroom, by the way.
In 2015 at tryouts, we were in Southern California, and it was in January, and it was Laura Berg's birthday, and so everyone starts singing to her, or no, not everybody starts singing to her. That I ruined it, but we're all gathering. Coachy brings the coaches together. And was like, we need to talk. Like the day was done, and none other than Sam Fischer has a whipped cream pie, and so Bergie's over there talking to Coachy, and I grabbed the back of her head and I smushed the pie in her face. And I got it up her nose. I got it all up in her business. And then we all started singing happy birthday to her. And that was almost 10 years ago. And I still sleep with one eye open because she will get me back at some point or other. I know it, but I got her real good. That's probably my favorite prank that's at the top of my head.
Bergie's like an all-time prankster herself. Bergie, I guarantee you, has not forgotten about that. She is concocting something.
Oh, I
at
know
some
she's
point,
coming.
So
yeah, to prank the prankster is risky business,
It's
but it was
dangerous.
worth it. It was worth it.
Those are the best ones though, that like continue on like 10 years later and they get you like
Yeah, I'm scared.
props.
Yeah, I'm scared.
I'll give kind of an easy cliche one, but I'm just curious how you each answer most difficult pitcher that you faced.
Yukiko Ueno.
I would
Ueno
throw
is
Ueno in there.
it moves, it's fast, she's got a change. It's every pitcher's dream repertoire, I think.
I would throw
Yeah.
Monica in as an American as well.
Yeah.
Monica's just odd. I've never been so jammed in my entire existence. Like my hands felt like they should be bleeding.
I know the experience as a righty. I cannot imagine the experience as a lefty off of her.
It's not fair. It's simply unfair.
Mm-mm.
And
I remember when
she got a change. She finally got the change up too. Like once she figured that out, it was like, okay, I'm going to sit, 73, 74. She's going to be halfway to me by the time she takes her stride. And then, psych, 50-mile-an-hour change up that you can't even see. Her arm speed didn't even slow down. It was like,
it's rude.
Not fair. It's not fair.
No.
I mean, that was
No,
literally
it's
the
not.
last at bat of my career ever, by the way. Monica Abbott struck out on a changeup. Like, that's mean.
That's
really mean.
That
That's
is
bullying.
mean.
I think that's bullying, actually.
Yeah.
That is
I
a
think
form
that
of bullying.
classifies as bullying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
You know what? We'll hit up Monica. We'll hold her accountable for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know what's
Absolutely.
worse is, in the back, like the NPF days, there was 4 teams. So it was very similar, like AU, you know everybody. And the catcher was Shannon Defking, who had been one of my teammates. And she like kind of laughed at it. That's mean too. That's just,
It's very
that's
mean.
mean.
Yeah.
Besides Sam Fischer, who's the funniest person in Athletes Unlimited?
Thanks for leading it in that way. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have another one. Nadia Taylor. I gotta go Nadia Taylor.
Naughty.
It's gotta be little Naughty.
She's so funny. And she's like her own being. So like her humor, I could never pull off her humor because it's Nadia's humor. So excellent. That was a great one, Halo. Nadia Taylor.
Yeah, little naughty.
That's pretty good. If this is in
Athletes Unlimited as a whole, if we go as a whole with all the sports, Sydney Colson, basketball player.
Yes,
Sydney Colson takes the cake.
know
Plays
where-
for the Las Vegas Aces.
do you know where she went
Yeah.
to college?
She,
Do you guys know where she went to college?
She's an Aggie.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
gig 'em.
She is an
She'd be
Aggie.
gigging 'em.
It has been hilarious forever. So I agree with
Yeah.
you. I agree with you.
Thank you.
This is not probably a rapid fire question, but recently the USA roster came out for the team that will compete in the World Cup, and then the elite team that will compete in Japan. Shout out Halo. I'm looking at that roster and like it was cool. There's a lot of diversity of age, of like where they're playing, but curious of y'all's thoughts on the rosters that came out.
I'm personally just really excited. I think our as a whole USA softball is in a really good spot right now, just continuing to expand the pool of players and it not necessarily be just one team that goes and plays the entire summer, but it's an entire pool of players getting international experience that is really going to help us moving forward as we enter the 2028 quad, which will be right after Paris. And that's crazy to think about that, like right after this summer, it's going to be all eyes on how good can we be. One of the things that stood out to me, like you said, the diversity of age and experience. We have 5 Olympians that are going to be on that Italy roster, which is awesome. And then you've got players that, are fresh out of school. Some that are fresh in school, like still going over to play in Japan. And what a cool experience for you to have as a young softball player to be able to go to Japan and see that culture and see how they operate. And, I'm just really grateful. I think USA softball is in a really good spot. I think we're moving in the right direction. And we're in a spot where we're going to make ourselves better by pushing each other in this pool moving forward to 2028. And that's what I'm really excited to see kind of unfold as we, move forward the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think Halo nailed it. It's from being somebody who watches from the outside now and who's been part of the process back in the day. I think Halo nailed it on the head that it's a great spot. We're in a great spot to send out a team in 28 to bring the gold to the States for sure.
It does. It fires me up, and it's a bummer because 2024, right? This could be Olympic year, but I'm looking at this team and just the depth and the talent pool. So, yeah, you nailed it. Last question, and just with Athletes Unlimited coming up, what where can our viewers, our members, our young players, which I would 100% encourage to watch, especially all the exciting things you guys have going on with AUX. As a softball fan, I was excited to see the series against Oklahoma City Sparks and what you guys are going to do in Oklahoma City, the AU championship season. Just give us a little preview. How can they watch? Why should they watch? And what's going on this summer with AU?
Well, number one, watch us on all ESPN platforms. That part is really cool and really exciting that you can see. If you can't come and see us in person, you can watch us on TV. And I think women's basketball really just proved it with people tuning in. So continue tuning in. And I think what people can expect from our games is playoff intensity every game. Every single game is so competitive. I felt it year one in 2020 that this is some of the most competitive softball with the way that the point system works with rollover innings. Man, when there's rollover innings on the line, that it is like, you want to talk about vomit in the dugout, but really good softball, really competitive and just really professional. And that's something that I think is the key to the growth and the future, is that we're setting a professional standard. And I'm excited about the intermingling that we're going to do this summer. I think that people want to see it. I think that people want to know that softball is headed in the direction that as a fan, they'd like to see it go. So 2024 is proving to be a very, very exciting year. Like truly all good things. So that's my spiel.
I would just echo everything that Sam said. Make sure you tune in and watch. It's like watching an all-star game with playoff implication every single time we step on the field. Like, it's one of the coolest things in all of sports, to be able to be a part of, to be able to do. And it's so exciting. We have so many phenomenal players. But I will echo what Sam said about the things are starting to come together in a really awesome and powerful way for our sport. And, I think we're just getting started. I really do believe that. But yeah, ESPN. And then if you own a business, if you're a CEO of some company listening out there, you give me a call and we can work out a partnerships deal. So holler at your girl. Shameless plug. My role with AU is partnership sales. So invest in us. You know what I mean?
It was amazing.
That's business right there. We're talking business. I love it. I love it.
You got to shoot the shot somehow.
You too. I thank you for not only spending time on here, but just what you do. Like, you two are fully invested on and off the field. And it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. And I look forward to being a part of part of the AU season, to hanging out in Oklahoma City. But just thank you guys for being great ambassadors for our sport. Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the Car Ride Home podcast. Hopefully we're filling the air and making your car ride home a little bit more enjoyable. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and leave us a review. If you have any special guest or requests that you'd like to hear, or have us bring a guest or a story onto the podcast, shoot us an email, info@thealliancefastpitch.com. We'd love to hear from you.